Law of thought in operation. The law of thought governs all action. Thoughts are possibilities that come forth from the field of consciousness, and they operate directly out of consciousness. Thoughts precede appearances and are the power behind creation. A thought is a living being with a definite structure for how it can and does operate. This is key to understanding thought and its associated law. When a thought comes into existence, it forms a space of possibility for action. Once a thought is produced, it communes with other related thoughts. As living beings, thoughts contain and direct operational energy that provides the possibility of action. Operational energy is also known as the elementals that create the space of appearances. Thought is a living blueprint. It directs what is created. Thought is causative. It is the underlying structure that produces results. Revealed in humanity. The law of thought is the basis of our universe and the origin of our existence. Everything that appears or disappears in this universe does so because of the law of thought. The world as we know it arises and appears from each person's individual thoughts. We relate to everything through our thoughts. Thoughts from individuals interact with thoughts from other individuals and thus become modified. Group thought emerges from and is adopted by people in the group. People then pass the thoughts along as teachings. Group thought has similarities and differences within each individual. Thoughts are the foundation for relationships. With thoughts, people produce results. For example, feelings, moods, and actions derive from thought and can be changed by choosing to think differently. When thinking is an operation of consciousness, it is in its most effective form, and it results in unfoldment in action. In this work, idle chatter, nonsense, and incoherence are not considered thinking. This is similar to how a wrecked car is not considered an operational vehicle. An incomplete or ill-formed thought cannot be considered effective thinking because it does not contribute to effective language or communication. Positive and productive communication involves thinking in ways that sustain life or contribute to well-being. One approach that has held back the understanding of the law of thought is that people have equated words with thought and have treated words as things. Words are part of the process of thought and are a key outcome of thought. However, when people think of words as things instead of as operations in being, then understanding thought is elusive. Words are actions that coordinate action. Treating words as things is very limiting because then words lose their power. Being superficial with words is like draining the charge from a battery. Something is not fully manifested until it is named. When you name something properly, you bring forth possibilities. For example, when you offer someone a beverage, you can then name the available options to coordinate subsequent action. Thoughts are illuminations of consciousness that precede words, and words precede action. The mistake that scientists make is they do not realize that all physical laws derive from spiritual laws. All laws of science are derivative of spiritual laws because everything operates under and by the law of thought. First, there is thought in a conscious mind. Thoughts are used to form spiritual law. Then spiritual law provides the parameters for physical law. The Ten Commandments are an example of laws for this world deriving from spiritual laws. The law of thought is the summation of law for us as human beings because everything that exists does so because of spiritual and physical operations. Antithesis. This law does not have an antithesis because there cannot be a thought without an effect. All thoughts have effects. Consciousness is oneness that has no opposite. The non-dual cannot be understood dualistically. Application: how to embody the operation of thought. Any practice that promotes thinking well-formed thoughts is Meditating is one way to gain awareness because when you are meditating, you are watching your thoughts arise. Often you realize that your wayward and random thoughts are running the show instead of you being directed by consciousness. When we focus our thoughts, we see how and why various results are produced. We can use the law of thought and other laws of being as guides for operating as consciousness.